As the director of the Mayor's Action Plan of Neighborhood Safety, my job is to organize residents around public safety issues in their community. Currently, I work with 30 NYCHA developments to co-create and co-design what public safety looks like in their community. I always say this statement: you can't have the public safety without the community that lives there. You have to center them. And when you talk to residents in these communities, they have a really broad consensus of what public safety is. Public safety is not just a cop on the corner. It's not just jail cells, right? It's not just statistics. It's about making sure the environment that residents inhabit is clean, that they have great lighting, they have economic stability and opportunity. There's places for young people to thrive and be their best selves. That's what public safety looks like when you talk to residents. And so MAP uses this centerpiece mechanism called NSTAT, Neighborhood Stat. And what Neighborhood Stat does, it brings together residents, nonprofits, and city agencies to come together and discuss what safety priorities look like in specific communities. Because historically, government hasn't been a good partner to residents. Historically, what government does is they show up in community and say, we're gonna do for you, without even asking residents what they need to feel safe. If I asked everyone in this room today, name one thing that you need to feel safe, everyone is gonna have a different opinion of what safety looks like. And so that's our viewpoint and our approach when we deal with community. So in these 30 communities, what my job is to do is to work with 15 residents to talk about harms that are happening in real time in community. And it's our job to strategize in real time and mitigate those harms. So you have residents who've lived in these communities for 30 years. Of course they know what to do. Of course they know what to do. So it's using the lived experiences, the ingenuity of community to come up with solutions to drive, right, public safety the way we need it to. And we know the underlying drivers of public safety is really poverty. That's what we're talking about. Now, so that's my job in a nutshell. But what I spend most of my job doing is helping residents navigate city systems, understanding city systems, making sure residents are able to advocate for themselves. So a lot of my time is spent investing on building residents' core competencies. So I'm talking about leadership development, civic participation, you name it. I work tirelessly with my colleagues to inform residents, to empower residents, and to give them the tools they need necessary to thrive. But one thing keeps coming up for me. The time that we spend investing specifically around leadership development with older adults is kind of alarming with me, because you have residents who've lived in these communities, they know what they need, but a lot of times they've never been given the opportunity to lead anything. They've never been given the opportunity to actually be brought into the table and say, hey, your voices matter. You're valued here, right? And so that's why my time has spent so much time investing and building in their core competencies, which brings me back to when I was a young person. Something happened. I'm wondering, why do I have all these adults who don't feel like they're leaders that live in these communities? They are leaders. I see them as leaders. And I realized something. I was afforded to that most people weren't. I was given an opportunity to lead at a very young age, and I was also given the opportunity to have a mentor. Those are two different things. And a lot of times we confuse them. We say, we need a mentor for our young people, because if we have a mentor for our young people, that's gonna get them where they're gonna go. Yes, a mentor can help you, can validate you, can give you courage, but it's life's experiences that are gonna shape and mold you and make you the person you are. So when you heard about those trips to Croatia, when I was 14, 15 years old, after the Dayton Peace Accords were signed, and I'm a kid that lives in Park Hill apartments, and I'm going to talk about peace education and things like that, you better believe that changed my trajectory. I was a C average student. And when I came back to class and we're talking about the Balkan region and they're reading from a book, but I can actually tell you what's really going on, it makes my education that much more real. It made me confident. I wasn't a valedictorian at that time. I had a 75 average, but somebody still said you're valued. So, before I even get to this, public safety, I want to do one more thing with the public safety. I told you residents know what they need. In the National Library of Medicine that was just published, it said, taking vacant lots in communities that have high levels of violence and greening them drops crime by 30%. I'm gonna say that again. Taking vacant lots in communities that have high violence drops crime by 30%. That's more than any cop on a block. And you know who comes up with these strategies? Residents. So residents with experience will create great ideas. Now, let's go back. So when I meet with a lot of these residents and I'm trying to build with them and use their lived experience, it just dawned on me. If their experiences are limited to their block, how will they be able to come up with solutions that are really broad enough to really change policy and change their everyday life? Right? So your experiences will help to teach you and to lead you and to make you better. It says 30% of young adults say they don't see themselves as leaders. 35 young women identify as non-leaders versus 26% of young men. And 44% say they rarely or never took on leadership roles growing up. That's really hard for somebody like me who grew up with parents from West Africa, Nigeria. Because if you know anything about Nigerian parents, you're gonna do chores. You're gonna do chores. There's no way that your mom's gonna be in the house, she's cooking, and you're not washing the dishes, right? You're gonna do something. So for parents in the room and educators, it's very important. Even the minute things that you can do at home to give your children leadership opportunities, please do it, because it does build confidence. It absolutely does build confidence. And another data point that I'm gonna share with you, and these data points come from the University of Illinois that studied the decline of leadership in our cities. It says that 83% of young people globally believe their governments have failed them. And governments are just people. It's just people controlling the systems. So what that really is saying, we are failing the next generation of leaders. So by the time they get to me and they're adults, and we're trying to solve and mitigate crime and harm and systemic racism and oppression and over-policing, how do we become creative if we don't have these experiences? So it's not just about having a mentor, it's also about creating eye-opening experiences to cultivate young people. That's what this is about. And when you put those two together, you have this thing called the leadership multiplier effect. When you have mentorship mixed with experiences, you multiply leadership in these communities that we're talking about. That's how you get me today. That put together is how you see me here today. So I grew up in Park Hill apartments. My parents are from West Africa, Nigeria. I have 3 siblings. My older brother made it to the NFL. My younger sister's a doctor, and my older sister, who's hearing impaired and also have cognitive disabilities, also went to college. So I had a lot of things that I had to do in my house. But even there, I was still an underachiever. I wasn't really the strongest academically. I joined a program in Curtis High School called Global Kids. And when I joined that program, they told me, hey, we don't care that you have a 75 average. We want you here. You deserve to be here. Your voice is just as valuable as somebody who has a 99 average. That was a powerful thing to tell me. That's a powerful thing to tell a young person, that it's not about the grades, it's because you come from God, you deserve value. Everybody deserves value. That was so important for me. So one, I had a mentor who told me I was valuable. And then two, I had a mentor who put their money where their mouth is. They said, we see you so valuable, we think you should participate in the United Nations World Youth Forum in Vienna, Austria in 1996. Now I'm 16 years old, parents from West Africa, Nigeria, and now they're telling me I'm gonna go to Vienna, Austria to talk about sustainability. I didn't even know how to spell the word. I didn't. I said, what is sustainability? They said, well, you're gonna go learn about that. I said, okay, I'm gonna go learn about that. I go to Vienna, Austria. It's an amazing conference. It's about young people coming together and denouncing violence. That's really what it's about. And it's also about making sure that we have a planet that's sustainable for generations and generations to come. And so while we were there, we were networking with other organizations. We met an organization called Suncukret, which means sunflower in Croatian. And they were working with Bosnian refugees that had fled because of the war. The Dayton Peace Accords were signed by Bill Clinton, and I got the opportunity to actually travel from Vienna, Austria to Bosnia to meet these Bosnian refugees. And I started to do workshops with them. We do democracy workshops, and then the Bosnians and the Serbians were coming together to meet us. These were people who just were fighting against each other. And when I saw young people just like me, right, fighting for the same things that I was fighting for, I realized this is what I wanted to do. I want to be able to affect young people the way someone affected me. So not only did I have a mentor, look at the trip that I was on. I was in Vienna, Austria, at the United Nations World Youth Forum from Park Hill Apartments. I was now in Croatia, working with Bosnian refugees that are now my lifelong friends after a war. Do you imagine what education looked like for me? Yes, you had some valedictorians reading books, but I was living it. And I had great mentors, because a trip like that, it's not easy to take young people, right? You take young people, that's not easy to take a trip like that. So again, that was so powerful, it brought me here. And so in 2015, I became Educator of the Year for New York City. In 2024, I became the director of the Mayor's Action Plan for Neighborhood Safety. And even right there, I see one of my students that I used to teach many years ago. And anywhere I go, I see teachers, students that I've impacted. And that's what the multiplier effect is, the leadership multiplier effect. When you have mentorship, but you give young people experience to lead, right? And to experience and to be leaders now, right? They have agency. They have agency, and they can do it. We have to give them that skill, and we have to believe in them, right? And we hold their hand together as they continue to grow. So, I'm gonna say one thing, and this is really important, and this is my motto. Exposure creates belief. See it, try it, become it. And there's this thing that I say to my students, and I want you to say it. I do. We do, you do. I do, we do, you do. One more time. I do, we do, you do. Why that's so important, and you continue that circle. It doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. The reason why that's so important is because, one, you have different learners. But by letting young people see you be humble and do the same thing, now they feel confident. If he can do it, I can do it. Now I'm gonna try it. We do it together. Wow, you're not just leaving me here to do it by myself. You really believe in me. You really believe in me? You're gonna stay with me and try this together? Now we do it together. I'm confident. I can do it by myself, but you're still there while I'm doing it. And that's how it works. That's exactly how it works. That's why you have my brother who's an NFL player, my sister who's a doctor, and me who's an educator. And I'm happy to be that. I'm happy to serve. I'm happy, right? And this is what we need to teach our young people, because they will be adults and they will be the leaders of tomorrow. But we have to give them the experiences of today to cultivate tomorrow. So my final thoughts are this. The leaders we need tomorrow are sitting right in front of you. They're watching us. They're learning, and they're waiting for us to invest in them. Every $1 invested in youth leadership yields $13 back in community. And even in my job, what I do, I also fund organizations and I fund people who represent communities. Because you know why? When you fund them, most of the time they'll create businesses and opportunities that actually address the things that are needed in those communities. So that's why you invest in that way. Our legacy is not measured by what we do, but by who we are prepared to lead next. So my call to action to you guys is this. Invest in youth leadership, right? And not just mentorship. Be with them. Give them eye-opening experiences, because that's what it is. If you teach a young person from a book, they'll regurgitate it. But if you give them the experience, they'll lead, and they'll build other leaders, and they'll continue to build other leaders. So please, the future isn't coming, it's now. Thank you. Appreciate it.